Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with Back to Basics and we're talking about the second system in your golf swing, the shoulders. How do you move your shoulders and your trunk during a golf swing, and how can you train this during the winter? It's very difficult to say what's the most important part of a golf swing, but obviously the way that your shoulders are moving through the swing is immensely important. In the end, your arms are hanging from your shoulders, so they are going to want to follow the shoulder movement, and if they find that the shoulders aren't working in the right direction or aren't working at all, then they are going to take over. And I think this is the fight that an awful lot of golfers have, is they're trying to hit out of their arms because there's simply no alternative. Getting your shoulders rotating and rotating with speed in the right plane is the center of building a good golf swing, and this is what I would call the second system in a golf swing. The reason it's the second system is simply because your shoulders will not be able to turn if your hips and your legs don't move. So I'll leave a link up here to a video which is going to show you how to move them. When you were talking about your shoulders, we're talking about basically two movements happening at the same time. And this is why you've got to spend so much time practicing this in the coming winter. The first movement you should be able to do without any particular problem. If you were to just put a club across your chest and then rotate your shoulders to the right and to the left, that's about it. However, at the same time as you're doing that, we're wanting you to go into a side bend, right and left. And that combined is difficult. Two things at the same time. Patting your head and rubbing your tummy isn't always an easy thing to do. But if you practice it, who knows, you might be able to do it after all. How do we practice this then? Well, it's a drill that you've probably seen a lot of people doing, including tour professionals. Cross your arms across your chest, take your stance, go into your spine angle. You want a spine angle of around about 100 degrees to the club that you've chosen, which means your spine angle is going to change for different clubs. When you're working on this at home though, don't worry about it too much. You go into a standard spine angle for a 7-iron, that's fine. Then from that position, what you're trying to do is to turn your shoulders and at the same time go into a side bend. In fact, if I were to just take a alignment stick here and pop it into the ground at the same angle as my golf club, then I am looking for my shoulders to be turning at the end virtually parallel. Now, this isn't something that your shoulders will actually perfectly achieve if you're looking at the top of your shoulder plane. Yeah? As you can imagine, as you go into this side bend, your spine will have a different angle at every point of your swing, and in the backswing it's probably more in your throat or in your so-called cerebral spine where you actually do get this angle. However, at the top of the swing, when we add the arms, you should see the trail arm, or the lead arm rather, being absolutely parallel to the original plane of the golf club when you were making the backswing. It's all about kind of making the body capable now in winter. So don't think too much about whether this is absolutely on the nail as far as, do I have to be exactly within a degree parallel to the nail? No, you don't. But it's got to give you the feeling, again, of getting this crunch going on in your lead side and this stretch going on in your trail side. And that should be happening as you make the backswing. Look into a mirror if you've got one. If you haven't, get a stick. If you're on the ground, it would be a very good idea to put yourself next to a wall so that you're getting some kind of feedback whether you're wandering out of the center when you do this. A lot of people, even if they've got a good movement going on with their lower body, will actually kind of move the spine and therefore wander out of the center when they're making this movement, which obviously isn't going to be conducive to a good golf swing. So you want to have the kind of feeling of your head and your chest staying over the golf ball when you're making this movement. Arms across your chest, and you're kind of turning the lead shoulder down, trail shoulder up, getting this crunch in the obliques here and the lower back muscles. Stretch on the other obliques and the other back muscles. You really kind of get this kind of stretch coming over your whole trail side, really from your trail foot up to your trail armpit. From here then, as you go with your legs back down into the sitting position and rotate towards the target, you've got to be bringing the trail shoulder down at the same plane as the stick in the ground. So you're trying to just get it turning down parallel and allowing the lead shoulder to go up. Normally, because you're going to probably get more rotation in the follow through than in the downswing, you should at the end of the swing definitely have this kind of feeling of the parallel shoulder rotation to the plane, and it's most certainly going to give your body a few new feelings. There's going to be a lot of stretching, maybe even a little bit of pain, a little bit of resistance going on there. And that's the idea of basically integrating these kind of drills into the winter season. You're actually creating abilities that you can then use in your golf swing without really kind of putting yourself under too much pressure. It's very difficult to swing a golf club and think of this stuff at the same time. So you've got to try and make these movements intuitive before you've even taken a club in your hand. And these are the basics of it. It's a good idea maybe before you start doing this to do a little bit of a warm-up. Try and get this kind of mobility into your body before you start kind of going too far to avoid any kind of injuries. But really what we're looking for, as you can see, is a deep turn with the shoulders keeping centered over the ball, and the same in the follow through. And even here you can see I've virtually got my legs straight and still I have my trail shoulder down. This is a very difficult position to get into. If you can't quite make it, don't worry, because you're going to come out of that position after impact anyway. But like I say, the more or the less resistance you have in your body to these movements when you're swinging a golf club, the more chance that your body is actually going to do them. Getting the shoulders then synchronized with your lower body can be built into exactly the same drill, and understanding basically that as you start the backswing, the feeling is of the shoulders and the hips moving together. I know there's a lot of people teaching you to turn your shoulders and then turn your hips. I've even said this in some of my more advanced videos, which are more kind of aimed at good players who have a lot of mobility in the body. For the usual average hobby golfer, let your hips turn, let your trail leg straighten from the word go, and you will actually find it quite easy to get into this position at the top of your backswing. Then you want to definitely have the feeling it's the legs starting the downswing, that the trail knee bends, the lead foot presses the lead hip out of the way, and that is making room for the trail shoulder to drop. Obviously, eventually, the dropping of the trail shoulder is going to make or open the door for the arms to drop as well and come down on plane rather than being thrown out away from your body in order to get around it. So getting this trail shoulder down, the lead shoulder up, is a big part of it. It's almost the feeling really of kind of dipping and twisting through the golf ball. There will be a definite feeling of a kind of a wave of movement going on here, and that is all perfectly okay, even if you have the feeling that your head is going a little bit up and down in the swing. You just don't want it going too much kind of right and left. Get this sorted out and you are almost all the way there to building a decent golf swing for the new season. I'll be back with System 3 very shortly. Until then, look after yourselves. A big thank you to all of my patrons. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't done already. See you soon. Until then, bye-bye.